Alamin ang mga mainit na balita mula sa ating Armed Forces. Tumutok sa 1134 kHz AM sa inyong mga radyo. At manood online. I-like at i-share ang AFP Radio DWDD Facebook page. Ito ang DWDD Armed Forces Radio, ang boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Mga katropa, alam mo ba na ang DWDD 1134 kHz AFP Radio ay ang opisyal na radio station ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas na binubuo ng Army, Navy at Air Force na siyang maghahatid sa inyo ng mga balita mula sa ating Armed Forces at iba pang impormasyon. Mga katropa, hanapin at ilike kami sa Facebook, Twitter at YouTube. DWDD AFP Radio, ang boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Kayo ay nakatutok sa DWDD AFP Radio. Kami po ay kasapi ng KBP, Kapisanan ng mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Likas sa mga Pilipino ang pagkakaroon ng pusong may damdamin sa kapwa. Ang pagdamay ay tila nakaukit na sa ating mga puso. Karamihan sa mga Pilipino tila kasama sa pangarap na mapabuti ang buhay, ang pagtulong sa mga nangangailangan. Sina alias Sim, Siray, Bloody, Lar, Axel at Dia, larawan ng mga tunay na Pilipino. Nagmula sa iba't ibang sektor ng lipunan, mula sa iba't ibang lugar, ngunit binigkis ng isang hangarin ang maglingkod sa pamilya at magsilbi sa kapwa Pilipino. Puno ng pangarap, buo ang loob, bukas ang pusong tumulong sa kapwa at ninais na maiangat ang kabuhayan ng pamilya. Inuluwal sila ng isang ugnayang marangal, ngunit ang dakilang pananaw na ito ay sinamantala ng isang kilusang inakala nilang makakatulong na magkaroon ng katuparan ang nagbigkis sa kanila. Dahil sa kagustuhang maging puwersa ng bawat bisig na nagpapanday at maging lakas ng kamaong nagbubungkal, napilitan silang yakapin ang prinsipyong komunismo at maghawak ng armas para labanan ang gobyerno. Si alias Sim, 29 anyos nang maging NPA. Kabilang siya sa tribo ng mga Aita. Wala siyang ibang hangad kundi ang mabigyan ng magandang bukas ang kanyang dalawang anak at mahal na asawa. Napagkaitan siya ng oportunidad na pumasok sa isang universidad, kaya ito ang sinamantala ng komunistang teroristang pangkat. 4 na taon siyang pinaikot ng maling kaisipan. Nagsilbi bilang pinuno ng Squad 1 ng East Front Committee ng Komiteng Probinsya Cagayan. Sa loob ng 4 na taong pagiging pulang mandirigma, walang nabago sa kanyang buhay. Sa halip na makatulong sa pamilya, lalo siyang napalayo sa mga mahal nito sa buhay sa Panlagaw Norte, Gataran, Cagayan. Tila ganito rin ang kwento ni alias Siray, 33 anyos, mula Poblacion West, Flora, Apayao. Isang kabataang puno ng pangarap para sa pamilya. Sa murang edad, buo na ang kanyang paninindigang makatulong sa pamilya, ngunit ito rin ang paninindigang sinamantala ng Partido Komunista ng Pilipinas. Sinamantala nila ang kanyang lakas at kabataan. Sa edad na 27, sumapi siya sa NPA at kinilalang si Kasiray. 6 na taon siyang naging mandirigma, naging vice team leader siya ng Squad 1 ng West Front Committee ng Comprob Cagayan, kung saan siya rin ang naging gunner at kasama sa Sparrow. Si alias Bloody naman, 35 anyos, mula sa hanay ng kabataan at kasapi ng Kabataang Makabayan, ang underground youth organization ng CPP-NPA. 18 taon siyang naging kasapi ng komunistang pangkat. Kalahati ng kanyang buhay ay ginugol sa kilusan. Mula sa Bagao, Cagayan at sa murang gulang, tila normal na sa kanya na makakita, makausap at maugnayan ng mga miyembro ng teroristang komunistang NPA. Sinamantala ang kanyang lakas at ipinaloob sa underground movement ng Kabataang Makabayan, hanggang sa maging commander ng Front Operational Command ng West Front Committee ng Komiteng Probinsya ng Cagayan. Si alias Lar naman, 44 na taong gulang, 29 na taon ang ginugol niya sa teroristang grupong CPP-NPA. Nagmuli rin siya sa Organisasyong Kabataang Makabayan. Sinanay siya sa mga gawaing militar hanggang sa maging squad leader ng East Front Committee ng Komiteng Probinsya ng Cagayan. Sa halip na masilayan ang pag-asang ipinangako ay lalo siyang nakulong sa kadiliman na lumukob sa kanyang mga pangarap. Unti-unti hanggang sa tuluyan siyang napalayo sa kanyang tinubuang lupa sa Karopyan, Baggaw, Cagayan. Si alias Axel ay larawan ng isang dalaga sa kanayunan. Sa edad na 20, nawala na siya sa kanyang mga karapatang maranasan ang saya at karanasan ng isang kabataang babae tulad ng kanyang mga kasabayan. Sa halip na nag-aral para maiangat ang buhay ng kanyang pamilya, ay nalinlang siyang pumasok sa armadong pakikibaka at mula sa kanilang lugar sa Kalasitan, Santo Niño, Cagayan, buong tapang itong nagtungo sa kabundukan para maging babaeng mandirigma ng New People's Army. Sa loob ng 3 taon, siya ay naging miyembro ng Squad 1 ng West Front Committee ng Komiteng Probinsya ng Cagayan. Tulad ni alias Axel, si alias Dia sa edad na 28 ay tila nawalan na ng sariling pagpapasya nang maipaloob siya sa kabataang makabayan. Sa loob ng 9 na taon sa Partido Komunista na umikot na ang kanyang mundo hanggang siya ay naging NPA at kalaunan ay humawak na siya ng mga posisyon tulad ng medikal, pangpinansya at kasama din siya sa Executive Committee ng East Front Committee ng Komiteng Probinsya Cagayan. Hindi naging madali ang karanasan nila sa kabundukan. Buhay at kamatayan ang puhunan nila, ngunit natutunan nilang yakapin ang pangamba at walang katiyakang bukas. Gutom, pagod at pag-aalala ang naging puhunan nila sa pang-araw-araw na pakikibaka. Hindi mabilang sa bundok at masukal na daan ang kanilang binabagtas tungo sa walang katiyakang destinasyon. Kung saan siya hahantong at dadalhin, sila man ay hindi nila alam. Masakit man ngunit ang pananatili nila sa kilusan bilang mga pulang mandirigma ay nagmistulang bangungot. Ninakaw ng Partido Komunista ng Pilipinas, hindi lang sa kanilang kabataan kundi ang kanilang pangarap. Hindi lang para sa kanilang sarili, kundi para sa kanilang mga pamilya at komunidad. Ang pangako na magkaroon ng masaganang bukas ay tila lason na unti-unting kumitil sa kanilang kinabukasan. Ngunit sa bawat bangungot na dala ng matagal na pagkakahimbing ay may katapusan. Ang bawat dilim ay nagwawakas sa isang liwanag na dala ng bukang liwayway at bawat panlilinlang ng kasamaan ay may katapusan. Ang kasinungalingang bumulag sa kanila ay nagwakas ng masumpungan ni Sim, Siray, Bloody, Lar, Axel at Dia ang tamang landas pabalik sa kandungan ng pamahalaan. Ang gobyernong minsan nilang kinalaban ay ang gobyernong buong pusong yumakap sa kanila at handang maging sandalan sa kanilang pagbabagong buhay. Sa pagbabalik loob ni alias Sim, isinuko nito ang isang caliber 60 general purpose machine gun at isang AK-47 rifle. Samantala, tig isang M16 rifle ang dala ni na alias Lar at alias Dia at isang M653 rifle naman ang bitbit ni alias Bloody sa kanilang pagbabalik loob. Dahil sa testimonya ni alias Siray ay natunto ng bangkay ni Brenda Antonio alias Michelle sa barangay Masi, Rizal, Cagayan at na-recover rin ang isang M16 rifle. Sa paglalahad ni alias Sim ay na-recover ang mga arms cache ng teroristang NPA sa parte ng Bugay, Gataran at Gonzaga, Cagayan na naglalaman ng 5 M16 rifles, 3 M653 rifles at 2 M14 rifles. Sa pagbabalik loob naman ni alias Bloody ay natunto ng mga kasundaluhan at kapulisan ang explosive cache ng teroristang komunistang grupo na naglalaman ng 2 command detonating explosives, anti-personnel landmine, 2 anti-tank landmines, 3 rolyo ng safety fuse at 2 blasting fuse sa sitio na Ganakan, Barangay Upper Atok, Flora, Apayao nito lamang Nobyembre 16. Sa parehong araw ay natunto ng imbakan ng mga baril at mga gamit pandigma na kung saan na-recover ang lower receiver ng M203 grenade launcher, mga magazine, mga bala ng M203, M16 at caliber 45 at isang rifle scoop sa Sitio Binugawan, Barangay Upper Atok, Flora, Apayao. Lahat ng mga ito ay patunay sa kanilang kusa at buong pusong pagbabalik loob sa pamahalaan. Minsan silang nangarap ng malayang lipunan, nag-asam ng mundong pantay-pantay, ngunit napaniwala sila sa pagkukunwari. Nabulag sila sa kasinungalingan ng Partido Komunista ng Pilipinas. Sa kanilang pagbabagong buhay, hindi nila isinuko ang kanilang mga sarili, kundi ang komunistang kaisipang nagnakaw sa panahong kasama ang pamilya at pagkakataong mapabuti ang kanilang buhay. Isinuko nila hindi lang ang kanilang mga armas, kundi ang isang digmaang walang saysay. Ito ang tagumpay hindi ng pamahalaan, kundi sila mismo. Nagtagumpay sila sa laban sa panlilinlang at kasinungalingan ng grupong bumihag sa kanilang kaisipan. Sa kanilang pagbabalik loob, mas malaya na nilang maisa sa katuparan ang mga damdamin at layuning hinadlangan ng komunismo. Sa piling ng kanilang mga mahal sa buhay, sa tulong ng pamahalaan, ang mga ito'y muling magniningning.
Ito ang DWDD 1134 kHz AM. Balita, impormasyon at musika. Ito ang DWDD AFP Radio. Boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Ating pakinggan ang mga impormasyon at balita sa kasalukuyang kaganapan sa ating bansa. Dito sa programang Kumusta Pilipinas, hosted by Major Mark Anthony Cardenosa, Philippine Army, and Airman First Class Glen Gultian, alas 10 hanggang alas 11 ng umaga, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, dito sa DWDD Armed Forces Radio, ang boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Magandang umaga, Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Mapagpalang araw at maulang araw sa ating mga taga-subaybay at tagapakinig sa ating himpilan ng radyo. Kayo po ay patuloy na nakatutok sa DWDD 1134 kHz ang inyong pong Armed Forces Radio, ang boses ng Kawal Pilipino. Mababayan, muli pong sumasaimpapawid ang inyong pong programang maghatid sa inyo ng mga balita at impormasyon saan mang dako ng ating bansa at mangungumusta po sa inyo at mangungumusta sa kalagayan ng ating inang bayanan. Ito po ang programang Kumusta Pilipinas at sa ngalan po ng ating kasama Major Mark Anthony Cardenosa, Philippine Army, ang inyong pong lingkod, Katropang Glen Gultian, ay malugod po kayong binabati ng isa pong mapagpalang araw ng Merkules sa ating pong himpilan ng radyo DWDD. At mababayan ay maulang araw po ng Merkules sa ating pong lahat. At sa ating mga taga-subaybay, tagapakinig, ay alam po natin na kayo po ay nasa inyo pong mga tahanan. Dahil nga na rin sa nararanasan po nating signal number 1 at malakas na pagbuhos ng ulan dahil po itong si Bagyong Christine. Mababayan, ngayon pong umaga ay nais po namin ipaalam sa ating matagasubaybay ay tayo po'y patuloy na nasusundan, napapahinggan sa ating himpilan ng radyo 1134 kHz sa AM. Live na napapanood sa ating Facebook live streaming sa ating AFP Radio DWDD at DWDD AFP Radio Virtual TV naman sa ating YouTube channel. And simulcast na napapahinggan sa iba't-ibang radio station partners nationwide, Mapaluzon, Visayas at Mindanao man. Ngayong umaga, mababayan, ay ating pong kumustahin ang kasalukuyang kaganapan at mga hakbang na sinasagawa ng ating pamahalaan patungkol po sa ating nararanasang hindi magandang panahon. Kaya nainayahan po natin ang ating mga tagapakinig, mga taga-subaybay, saan mang dako ng ating bansa na ako po inyong samahan. At samahan niyo po kami dito po sa ating programang Kumusta Pilipinas upang maipabot sa ating mga taga-subaybay at tagapakinig ang kasulukuyang kaganapan ng ating pong inang bayan. At lalo na po sa patuloy na hakbang na isinasagawa ng ating pamalaan tugon sa ating pong nararanasang panahon. Kaya mababayan sa ating mga taga-subaybay at sa tagapakinig ay binabati po namin kayo ng isa pong magandang araw ng Miyerkules at sa ating mga tagapakinig saan man kayo naroon, Mapaluzon, Visayas man, Mindanao man kayo, ay kami po ay nagpapasalamat na kayo po ay ligtas at kayo po ay nasa mabuting kalagayan despite that some of our kababayans are suffering because of this calamities, because of this weather na ating pong nararanasan. Kaya mga babayan, tutok po kayo ngayong araw, tutok po kayo ngayong oras na ito dahil ngayon pong umaga mga babayan ay ating pong bibigyang pansin ito pong ongoing na briefing sa epekto po ng tropical storm na si Christina at kasalukuyan po yan na isinasagawa dito po sa Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City with the Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council. At kasama po dyan mga babayan ang ating pong Pangulo. Na kung saan pinangunahan po ito ng ating Pangulo, ito pong ating situation briefing dahil nga na rin itong sa epekto nitong tropical storm na si Christina. At mababayan, ating pong itong ipapalabas at ating itong ipapahabot sa ating mga taga-subaybay at tagapakinig upang tayo po ay maging aware sa mga panukala at mga hakbang na isasagawa po ng ating pong pamahalaan. Kaya sa ating mababayan, sa ating mga tropa, alam po namin na kayo po ay nasa inyong pong mga tahanan and we are inviting everyone na kayo po ay makinig, umantabay para po sa ating kaalaman. Dahil napakalaga po na tayo po ay merong nalalaman at meron po tayong mga natututunan upang sa mga sitwasyon na ganitong nararanasan po natin ay tayo po ay sabi natin maagang magkaroon ng pagresponde sa ating nararanasang panahon ngayong tayo po'y nakakaranas ng itong pagkakupit dito pong si Christina. Kaya mga kabayan, atin niyo pong antabyanan, inyo pong subaybayan, ito pong situation briefing ng ating pong Pangulo and with the NDRRMC regarding po sa epekto itong tropical storm Christina. At ngayon po live natin mapapanood sa ating programang Kumusta Pilipinas.
Good morning, everyone. This is our SOP. Every time we have a storm coming into our area of responsibility. So we'll start today with the, before we have already people moving, starting to approach the area. But we cannot really do much until the storm passes. And not the storm, but the severe weather. Anyway, let's proceed. Let me call to order the situation briefing on Storm Christine. There is a briefer who will. Let us start with let us go down our usual procedure and start with the weather situation from Pag-asa. Oo.
Good morning, Mr. President and distinguished members of the Cabinet. Allow me to present the DOST Pag-asa brief report on Tropical Storm Christine as of 8 this morning. Next slide, please. This is actually the current satellite image showing the circulation of Storm Christine. Nasa east pa ng Luzon ang sentro nito, but the cloudiness associated with the storm is located west or south of the storm's center. And currently it is located 310 kilometers east of Baler, Quezon. with maximum sustained winds of 85 kilometers per hour at bugso na abot ng 105 kilometers per hour, moving west-northwest at 15 kilometers per hour. Yes, next slide please. Now, almost the whole of northern...
Can you show us a track
Yes po.
with the forecast times when the center of the storm will be at what time?
Yes, and the succeeding slide, sir.
All right.
yes.
Proceed. We'll get to that.
The whole of northern, central, and southern Luzon is under signal number 2, while the whole of Visayas I covered or under signal number 1. In particular, under signal number 2, the provinces of Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, Apayao, Abra, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, Benguet, Mainland Cagayan, Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Aurora, Nueva Ecija. And next slide, please.
Yeah.
Bulacan, Tarlac, Pampanga, Zambales, the northern and eastern portion of Quezon, including Polillo Islands, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Albay, and the northeastern portion of Sorsogon. Next slide, please. While signal number 1 in the provinces of Batanes, Babuyan Islands, Bataan, Metro Manila, Rizal, Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, the rest of Quezon, Occidental Mindoro, including Lubang Island, Oriental Mindoro, Marindoque, Romblon, Calamian Islands, the rest of Sorsogon, and Masbate, including Ticao and Borias Islands. Yes, sir.
You don't have to read out every single.
Yes, sir.
We have this
Yes, yes, sir.
information. Sige, let's go
Next
on.
slide, please. Okay, this is actually, Mr. President, the track of Tropical Storm Christine. It is moving westward the next 12 hours and then westward. No? Ito po ay inaasahan na maglandfall sa may Isabela or Northern Aurora mamayang gabi or early morning tomorrow, October 24. Inaasahan ito na mag-exit ng Philippine Area of Responsibility on Friday, October 25. Now, we expect also na the storm will slightly intensify into a severe tropical storm bago po ito maglandfall in the area. And then, upon crossing northern Luzon, nasa natin na mag-weaken slightly. Next slide, please. What to expect in terms of heavy rainfall? Inasa natin today ang intense to torrential rainfall, more than 200 millimeters of rain sa mga lalawigan ng Cagayan, Isabela, Apayao, Aurora, Quezon, Catanduanes, Camarines Norte, and Camarines Sur. While heavy to intense rainfall, the rest of Cagayan Valley, the rest of Caldera Administrative Region, Ilocos Region, Rizal, Albay, and Sorsogon. While moderate to heavy rainfall today, the rest of Central Luzon, Calabarzon, including Metro Manila, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, Marindoque, Romblon, Calamian Islands, Masbate, and Northern Samar. For tomorrow, inasahan natin na napakalakas ng mga pag-ulan sa mga lalawigan ng Pampanga, Pangasinan, Zambales, and La Union. Samantala, heavy to intense rain, the rest of Ilocos Region, Car, and Bataan. While moderate to heavy rains tomorrow in Tarlac, Pampanga, Nueva Ecija, Bulacan, Metro Manila, Cavite, Batangas, and Occidental Mindoro. Now, on Friday, we expect a gradual improvement of the weather, but moderate to heavy rains ay maasahan pa rin sa mga lalawigan ng Pangasinan, Zambales, and La Union dahil during this day, in-expect natin na lalabas na po ang bagyong si Christine. Next slide, please po. In terms of severe winds, dahil sa malawak ang circulation na sakop ng Christine, even those hindi sakop ng signal, storm wind signal, even in Mindanao, ay nasa natin na makakaranas na malakas na hangin. No? For today, Mimaropa, Visayas, and Mindanao. For tomorrow, ito po yung mga lugar or provinces na makakaranas na malalakas na hangin. And on Friday as well. Next slide, please. Dahil po inasahan natin ang mga lugar na under signal number 2 habang papalapit ang bagyong Christine sa kalupaan ng Northern and Central Luzon, inasahan natin ang storm surge. No? Nagpalabas ang DOST Pag-asa ng storm surge warning. Ang orange colored, ito po yung mga dalampasigan na makakaranas ng storm surge na between 2 to 3 meters. Kaya ipinapayuhan natin ang ating mga kababayan living along these coastal areas na maghanda o maging alerto. While yung nakadilaw, ito po yung up to 2 meters wave height dahil sa storm surge. Next slide please. Now ito naman po ang status ng ating mga dams. Although generally mga dams level natin ay safe. But like for example, ang GAT, bagamat umakyat ng 0.34 meters, but ang normal high level niya ay mataas pa.
This
yes
is
po.
the one we should be keeping an eye on. There are 2 pages to this actually. So far, ang pinakamalapit is Pantabangan to the high level, normal high water level, if I'm not mistaken. Nonetheless, whatever it is, meron pa yata dito. 80.5. Anyway, we have to watch this carefully because we're just beginning. This is just the start of the rainfall. So yes, we're all right for now, but mukhang inevitable na mag-overflow o magre-release tayo ng tubig. So let's already start thinking about the downstream areas na tatamaan when we release when we are forced to open some of the gates para pababain yung tubig. Pero planuhin natin na mabuti. Maybe if what we can do is do a measured response. Kahit hindi pa high water level, magbitaw na tayo ng kaunti. Pababain na natin na hindi apektado yung mga downstream communities. Magbitaw na tayo ng tubig para pagdating ng malakas na ulan, mababa na, hindi naman mababa, pero mas naibaba natin yung tubig para meron tayong konting breathing room. Ika nga. We have a little area that to watch na hindi papaabutin natin sa high water. Well, it is gate open. Wala pa naman so far.
Mr. President,
Yes.
that's continued spillage already.
Yeah.
For Dinga and
Yes.
Bagan.
So let's think about what can the downstream communities tolerate in terms of additional water, and do that, and try to release that amount, just that amount na hindi magkaka-damage, hindi magkakapinsala, hindi mababaha, yung kaya nung actual na outflow na hindi na abala yung mga downstream communities. In other words, let's try to get the levels as low as we can without affecting the downstream communities bago pa dumating yung malaking ulan. Because from what we are looking at, it really looks like this storm is more about flooding. May hangin ng konti, but it's not to the extent of the other super typhoons that we have seen so far. So again, water level seems to be the key factor for Christine. All right, so please carry on.
That's all, Mr. President,
all right.
for my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Now, the OCD, I think, has some information to provide with us.
Good morning, Mr. President
Good
and
morning.
Cabinet members. So, may I have the presentation, please, for Office of Civil Defense. Next slide, please. So, the scope of the presentation would be the situation overview, and then the humanitarian effects, the response, and the gaps. Next slide. This has already been presented by the Pag-asa. So, next slide, please. So basically, Mr. President and cabinet members, you've seen already in the reports that the massive flooding and unprecedented flooding happened in Region 5. Although, because of the massive or the circulation and the rain band, it also affected other areas. You would see that the darker parts are the severity of the flooding events, specifically in Region 5. And if you would look at it, more than 23,000 more than 150,000 has been affected. Next slide. And in terms of casualties, very minimal as of this point in time. And there was already the suspension of classes and the declaration of state of calamity. Next slide. And in terms of status of lifelines, as of this point in time as well, as of reporting time, still as minimal as that. But I think the most important thing to look at, and especially and as the reports come in or the information comes in, would be the damages on agriculture and even of the livelihood assets of the people. Next slide. Yes, sir.
Can we go one back?
Yes, sir.
One page back.
The previous slide, please.
All right. This is yung status of lifelines is something important that we have to monitor na mabuti.
Yes.
Simply because we are going to have to go into the storm affected areas at some point. So what we have to know for our own people is what are the roads that are possible, what are not, what need to be opened, i-prioritize natin. Kasi as it is already, 93 out of 106 road sections are not possible. Seaports out of 34 in Calabarzon are non-operational. 34 out of 34 are non-operational. 10 out of 10 bridges in Region 5. So talagang it's isolated. The whole region actually is, to a great extent, is isolated.
So basically, some of the inactivity of the seaports and other communication lines were precautionary measures that has been undertaken.
Yeah.
And well noted, sir, on what you've mentioned, that we're still going to see more of the effects later on as the storm passes. As what has been mentioned by Pag-asa, there's a lot of coverage in terms of areas to be affected still, and these are still initial reports po. And some of them are precautionary measures being undertaken.
Yeah.
And as I've mentioned, there would still a lot to see in terms of damages and losses to agriculture, specifically to the livelihoods of people. And maybe that would be the next part on what to do next. Next slide. And in terms of response, of course, in immediate response, because it's flooding, of course, the need for rubber boats and water search and rescue has been identified early on. And I think one of the issues that we have right now, which we'll be seeing in the later slides, would be the need for logistics to transport, sir. Not just to transport people, but to evacuate people from harm's way. So next slide. And these are the additional needs that we're looking at. And as what I mentioned, that the gaps. Until this morning, there were already requests for additional rubber boats. That's why Office of Civil Defense has already been coordinating with some areas, specifically with Region 6 or Region 7, if there would be available rubber boats to augment the requirement in Region 5. And for those areas that has not been affected yet, where the storm is about to cross, they are already prepositioned more water search and rescue equipment. Of course, because of this massive flooding and expected to be more, of which water sanitation and hygiene would be affected, specifically the groundwater or the drinking water as well, and even water for domestic use. Food and NFIs, food specifically would be needed again in the coming days because of the evacuation that has happened, especially in the evacuation centers. NFIs in terms of shelter kits, shelter repair kits, and also some of the kitchen kits that would be needed, especially with the house that has been affected, even the second floor areas. So understandably, there would be more requests for NFIs. I mentioned already about the shelter repair kits. Office of Civil Defense and also with the Secretary of National Defense, Chair NDRMC, have already given some kind of additional guidance to the Office of Civil Defense to seek or to somewhat consider the request for international assistance for augmentation on logistic requirements, specifically for transport. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, please.
Because I instructed our staff to make their own estimates of the possible effects of the rain in the coming days. We have the available assets to answer for lift capabilities as of this time. However, in the exercise of caution, we are planning two things to foresee the effects in the coming days. In the aftermath of the disaster risk convention, we are coordinating now with our ASEAN neighbors. I have already talked to our Singaporean ambassador to marshal their capabilities for airlift and other manpower assistance that they can pitch in. And we will talk to our traditional partners in the next few days in anticipation of airlift needs and other rescue needs, Mr. President.
Okay.
Next slide, please. So, Mr. President, we've been, from Pag-asa, what we're doing here in Office of Civil Defense is to manage the information that we're getting. So we come up with likely scenarios. So the regions 1, 2, and 3, and CAR, and Calabarzon, since the storm has not passed them yet, we're still expecting actually, it's not just a likely scenario, the worst-case scenario for this matter. When we do our contingency plan, we would always come up with a worst-case scenario. So as what the Secretary of National Defense had mentioned, we're looking at planning for the next time, no? For the next few days. And this is what we're looking into, that there would be gradual intensification, and these are the areas that would be affected. Regions 1, 2, 3, CAR, Calabarzon. In terms of wind damage, not so much, but in terms of flood or water damages. And actually, what we are also most concerned, these areas, especially Batanes or the northernmost part of the country, has been already affected recently by Tropical Cyclone Julian. And I think they haven't much recovered yet. Actually, they're also still requesting for some NFIs. And these are the hazards that we are considering as far as the passage of this tropical cyclone would be in those areas. So, next slide, please. So we are expecting
Mr. President,
more.
if I may, just one.
Yes,
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes, please, go
the
ahead.
previous slide. So, Mr. President, what you see there is an image of a combined rainfall and flood and landslide risk analysis from the Mines and Geoscience Bureau of the DNR. So that's barangay scale, sir. So we can actually look at the level of risk
All right. And
to the
what is it?
barangay. So we have a listing that we supply to OCD in terms of the potential.
Also, that's how it's done.
Yes, sir. It's a combined model for weather, landslide, and flood risk together down to the barangay scale. Yes, sir.
All right.
So,
we can count on this data.
so basically, sir, based on all of those information, flood risk, landslide risk, we are able to translate that on the number of most vulnerable people that could be affected wherever. And that is coming from the information coming from the SWD. So we are the most vulnerable. We're looking at the listahanan as an information coming from the SWD. And this would be the reference for the planning figure for our response. Next slide. And since there was also preparations being done in Batanes, this is an example of a response ex ante. Before a tropical cyclone would come, this is very much Filipino, culturally recognized. They are already strengthening houses. That is happening as of now as of yesterday or even 2 days ago in Batanes. Once they receive their information, I think this is a very important, a classic example of how we prepare for tropical cyclones if wind damage would be expected. But nevertheless, this is how it is being done right now. Next slide. That's all, Mr. President.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. It looks pretty clear that this one is more about the volume of water that's going to be dropped in the areas. And unfortunately, I think it would be prudent to consider that we are only beginning. This is just the beginning. Now we're experiencing the same phenomenon that I have been commenting on all of us have been noticing. Ang bilis mag-develop ng bagyo. It was just a low pressure area, and now look at the strength of it. And the volume of water the volumes of water are unprecedented. Okay, so yun ang kailangan natin bantayan. So question, how nakapag-forward placement ba tayo?
Mr. President, I knew you were going to ask that. I have one slide and one slide lang if we can pull it up.
Yeah.
Mr. President, we're back to the 2 million mark. This is the national stockpile. The red number is the total number of stockpiled goods nationwide, 2 million.
Alright.
This was pre-Karina level. We had a very good run ng production this past couple of weeks. Now, if Mr. President, NROC is our Pasay hub, so we have around 176,000. Our Visayas hub has around 250,000. That's family food packs. Now, NCR must contempt, Mr. President, because we draw from the Pasay hub anyway. But the identified regions have very high stockpiles. Region 1 has 93,000. Region 2 has 109,000. Region 3 has 170,000. 4A 101, 4B 101, and then before this Karina, na tail of Karina hit us, we had close to 162,000 in Bicol. So as of yesterday, Mr. President, we started distributing already, and we continue to distribute. Now we're already in the replenishment stage. Our Pasay hub is running at 20,000 a day, so that when the stockpiles of these offices go down, we can keep on sending them.
All right. Are there areas still that we cannot reach?
Mr. President, I was over the phone with the mayor of Naga. In fact, Naga alone, marami pang roads na impassable. Then I was exchanging messages with Kong Elry yesterday.
Do we know why is it impossible? Nasira ba yung daan o nag-landslide?
Mainly,
Tubig lang.
mainly for localized flooding, Mr. President.
Okay.
But I'm happy to report, Mr. President, that the Maharlika Highway, except for the section of Calbayog City, the entire Maharlika Highway up to Manila now is passable now. Except there is one section in Milaor, which is actually only heavy vehicles can pass by now. But I understand from the report of my regional director just now, that the rains have simmered down a little bit, so there is a good chance that by this afternoon, the entire traffic will be restored along Maharlika Highway. However, there are many road sections, secondary road sections that remain to be closed for now because of localized flooding, and may mga soil collapse, Mr. President, but our people now are in the field actually taking out all this debris and to restore the traffic immediately, Mr. President.
To give us a better, can we have the map again of Pag-asa of the track of the storm? I think this is going to be our best guide on what. Can I have the map? Can we have the map that you put up earlier? It is the Pag-asa map of. There you go. Okay. So this is what we can expect by Wednesday. By 5 p.m. today, it will be off the eastern coast. It will not. The center of the storm will not have landed yet. And again, what is your forecast for landfall? What time and what place?
It's about 8 later this evening, Mr. President, or early morning tomorrow.
And
From around 8.
Aurora, pero hindi,
8
ang
p.m.
landfall Aurora, kamo?
Yes, Aurora
Alright, so
area,
that's
province.
good. And then this is if it's going at what speed? 15 kilometers an hour?
85 kilometers per
Huh?
hour.
No, that's the storm. No,
The speed is 15 kilometers
15
per hour,
kilometers an
Mr.
hour.
President.
So ganyan ang magiging takbo. Usually we are pretty accurate as long as the storm has fully developed. We're pretty accurate. So ito yung kailangan nating abangan. These are the areas that, for example, I think we can start pag lumalayo na sa Bicol sa Region 5, pwede na natin gawin lahat ng pwede natin gawin. Pero wag na natin pasukin muna ang Region 1, Region 2 dahil parating pa lang. So pabayaan muna, there's nothing we can do except wait for it to pass. Give all the warnings that we can give, evacuate as many people as we can. But we really have to just batten down the hatches for a day. And make sure that everybody has what they need. Everybody has the emergency supplies. Meron silang ilaw, meron silang tubig. But maybe we'll have to shut that down. Pero wag na sana tumagal masyado. But in the meantime, mag-isip na tayo how we are when we can go in with our equipment for the public works and to open to open all the thoroughfares. Once they are open, if they're not open, we will look to SND to fly it in, perhaps if that's the best that we can do. Patulong din tayo, we can ask the Coast Guard also. The Coast Guard also plays a part in that naman. So mag-ready na tayo. But all of us should have this map in our office looking at this, and this is what we have to anticipate.
Just to go back to your earlier question, so bottom line, we plotted that all our field offices have ample supply in those areas.
Yeah.
Actually, we went back to pre-Carina level, so our stockpile is quite strong. Okay ho tayo on the ground.
All right. The problem is that it is not such a strong storm, but the effects are very wide. Kung titignan mo, layo ng Bicol actually doon sa center of the storm. Pero I've seen the news reports, ang laki ng tubig eh. Marami talagang binagsak na tubig. It's wide-ranging. Kahit na hindi 85 kilometers, we can prepare for that. Tapos dahil nga na madalas yung bagyo, na-saturate na ang lupa. So what we have to anticipate now, let's all prepare with whatever yung mga equipment ng DPWH, yung mga airlift ng AFP, yung mga relief goods and kung ano man, whatever all the other that we are doing.
Mr. President.
John Vic, everybody is well informed naman.
Yes, sir.
Those areas that are under that
Yes, sir.
that circle.
Out of the 1,252 LCEs, 87 are present in their municipalities. Unaccounted for 175, they're either on medical or foreign travel.
Okay.
But all of them have been informed and all have activated their disaster response scenarios.
Sir, if I may.
Yes.
Sir, on the parts of the DNR, we've also reached out to the private sector, to the mining industry. So they are now informed that they may be called to assist in response and recovery, probably rescue if need be, since they have the technical equipment and they have the manpower to perform rescue in terms of possible landslide and other situations. We've also asked and coordinated with the Philippine Space Agency. They've activated also image acquisition so we can actively monitor the extent of the impacts.
From Pag-asa, the data that is coming in from space agencies incorporated to your in your forecast. Oh, kasama yan eh. Ang pagkaintindi ko, kasama talaga.
Yes, Mr. President.
Kasi may function of our sometimes our satellites.
We have access from meteorological satellites
Yeah.
actually
All
from
right.
Japan. And,
No, that's right. We need to get all the best data that we can. Well, I think we're reasonably well prepared. The power is going to go out, whatever we do. We, we just follow our regular procedure. We take down the power when it is not safe.
Yes, Mr. President.
To keep the cables energized.
Yes. Mr. President,
come back.
we have 16 electric cooperatives which are partially out of power. 4 are completely without power, including Sorsogon, Biliran, and as far down as Siargao. So,
Yes, I know. I was surprised to hear.
So, NEA is already coordinating and so far as rehabilitating the ones in the Bicol region. 69 kV lines have been affected also in a number of areas. So, NGCP, as you said, will be coming in as the weather situation improves.
Yes. Well, again, we turn the power off precisely to keep it safe, and then go back and take a look at the damage, see how we can repair it. There's sometimes a tendency in these areas because we say bring the power back immediately, bring the power back immediately. So jerry-rigged lang yung mga ginagawa nila, but then it becomes permanent, and that makes the the system frail, not robust. I don't know how we get around that because talagang there is a very, very strong demand. Balik na yung kuryente kaagad, as quickly as possible, bilis. So kung ano-ano na lang ginagawa. That's really that. Kaya yung mga nakikita niyo yung wala na bulbul, yun eh. Oh, dahil nagmamadali. Basta kahit paano, sige, basta ilagay mo dyan. Huwag short yan, di na bale, basta ilagay mo. Oh, sige, okay na yan. Tapos, dapat mabalikan, pero hindi na binabalikan. So we have to be conscious of that so that we make our systems more robust.
We take note of that, Mr. President. Yeah.
Oo nga. Oo. All right. Well, again, as health, you'll go in as soon as you can. Basically, we can start to go in. I don't know. Depends also on public works and the availability of airlift. But we cannot go in right now. Maybe parts of Bicol, baka maumpisahan na natin. Baka pwede nang lumipad ang helicopter or something like that para makapasok man lang na makapag-report na mabuti kung ano yung sitwasyon. But the point right now is that the storm is actually still off of our coast. It's not yet hasn't made landfall yet. So the worst is yet to come, I'm afraid. So let's all prepare. Let's just all prepare so that the minute that we get the signal that it's okay to go in, we'll all be able to go in. Doesn't mean that signal will be the same for everyone. Of course, the airlift will go in first, and then once the public works has been able to open at least the main thoroughfares, then everything else will go in. Health will go in, the relief goods will go in, and wala tayong magagawa if we just. I'm feeling a little helpless here because all we can do is sit tight, wait, hope, pray that there's not too much damage, that there are no casualties, and then go in as soon and as quickly as possible with as much as we can to alleviate the effects especially first to the population, and then afterwards we will take care of all the other infrastructure, the power, the roads. Let's watch again those dams because we don't want the situation that happened in Cagayan Valley where just released without telling anyone and there was no plan, and we all remember what happened there. So, iwasan natin yun. But let's anticipate, let's be proactive about it. Let's not wait for the levels to reach the maximum. Kung kaya, mag-release na tayo ng kahit kaunti lang para hindi biglaan na makapag-release, para hindi mag-overflow. So, let's think in those terms that we'll plan ahead. All the dams that we think will be affected, let's think about already releasing some water, so that when the real water comes, it will be not as bad. Yeah. What else? What else? What have we missed? What? Yes. Yes, Andy.
Mr. President, since this is a big, it will need big logistics, and coming from areas which are not affected, we would encourage coordination to keep the roadways in the areas not affected free, so that our trucks and other vehicles can freely move. And so we will be working closely with the Executive Secretary to recommend suspension of work or classes in the areas where we need to marshal our logistics just to keep the roadways free, Mr. President.
Well, like in any, the first responders are going to be the local governments. Silang una talaga makakapasok dyan. Let's be sure that kung meron talagang request for assistance, that we will try and give them the assistance. Kasi meron talagang mga bagay, meron talagang mga problema na hindi kaya ng local government o kulang ang local government. They need more. So let's make sure na may maganda yung coordination natin. At saka yung sa mga lokal na tumawag sila, magsabi sila kung ano yung pangyayari.
As a President, Congressman El Rey already conveyed this need for assistance as soon as possible, sir.
Yeah, all right. So we'll just stay very in close contact with them, so that we know what their situation is, and if there's they have an emergency request for augmentation of some kind, diba? Para maka-respond kaagad ang national.
Mr. President.
Yes, Secretary.
Well, Mr. President, I think for clearing of roads, we're happy to report also that there is no bridge that collapsed actually.
Okay.
So I think as soon as the water subsides in the locally flooded areas, our response teams will now be able to enter into clearing all the debris and like fallen trees and other materials inside. As soon as we are able to clear all the national secondary roads, we will coordinate also with the local governments where they would need actually the assistance of the department for clearing out the roads inside the local roads, Mr. President.
All right. The other thing is there was how do you call this? An offer. Again, rather a communication from MMDA for the water purifiers. Rex? Yeah, yung water purifier. Kasi wala si Benhar.
Sir, yung balde ho.
Well, there's that. And then yung dinadala na pinapasok natin yung galing MMDA.
Yes, sir.
Yung backpack na water purifier.
Yes, sir. I'll make the call sa MMDA.
You coordinate
yes,
with
sir.
them. Because again, we're going to run into that situation where water supply is critical. Baka magkasakit na yung mga tao sa water supply. So
I'll make the call sa MMDA.
Yeah. You coordinate with them so that where we immediately need it. And then we can do again the balde.
Yes, sir. We're sending na rin, sir.
How many do we send? I don't know if it's the same as in the time in Yolanda, but in the time of Yolanda, when we brought those the filtration system in, that was good for 100 people per day.
Sir, it's almost the same kasi ang ginagawa niya per evacuation center. So they cluster, let's say, 3 rooms, depending on how many are inside a room. The one I showed you was parang 100 Same
That
sir.
looks the same as the
Yes.
one that we had
Yes, sir.
in
It's still
the-
the same.
oh.
So we're sending it over there, sir.
Yeah. Sige. So, but how many? How do we ratio it?
So it depends on the number of evacuees that we have and the number
So
of
doon na lang
evacuation
yun, that's
center.
where we take
That's where we get the ratio, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and it's simple enough. How was your experience in Basco in Batanes?
Sir, okay naman. Wala naman untoward incident afterwards.
Pero nagamit talaga
Nagamit
nila.
ho nila, sir. In fact, we augmented pa some more. They asked us to bring some more.
That's a good sign.
Yes.
That means it's really effective. So let's keep that in mind. And then, of course, the MMDA has their
So I'll call MMD right after.
SPs.
Sir,
Yes,
if I may. Sir, the evacuation areas will have no electricity and no communication. Do they have access to the Starlink system so that they can have internet at least for communication? Are we prepared for that?
Usually, the cell sites continue to operate, but it's not happening.
During a typhoon, sir,
saan
a lot
ang,
of them stop.
Saan yung mga area na hindi natin walang communication?
We will know pretty soon, but I think Albay is pretty hard hit now. So I think in terms of preparation for the coming typhoons, maybe we should advance purchase and stockpile on the Starlink, sir. So
But that will, again, ganun din, kasama yan eh. Meron na tayong kasamang communication na dinadala.
Yes, sir.
We put up some kind of satellite system. Dati truck pa yan eh. Yung malaking dish.
That's right.
Yan, maliliit na lang.
Maliit na lang yun, sir.
So, yun ang but it will again depend on the accessibility. So maybe on the first airlifts, we can include kahit yung basic lang na communication system.
Yes, sir.
Kasi pagkaalam ko, ang mga cell site, mabilis bumalik because they have their own power. They have their own power supply. And they're able to do that. So, but nonetheless, we still have to put in, especially for government offices,
Yes, sir.
for the local relief response, para masabi sa atin what do we need. And even when they send our people in, they have to report back to us and tell us what's happening. Yes, sir.
Sir, with regard to the water filtration machine of MMDA, this is the 6,000 liter per day machine. Nag-procure na rin tayo, sir, ng 34
okay.
similar machines so we can also deploy.
Nandito na, nasa atin na.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. President, we'll
yeah.
just coordinate with...
Very useful yun. That turns out to have been a very useful piece of equipment. Kasi nag-ano. All right. Okay. What else have we missed? Yes.
Mr. President, in terms of the airlift capability, we already have alerted most of our aircraft. But yesterday we also coordinated with our U.S. counterparts, and they are ready to send in their aircraft using our EDCA sites.
Yes.
And then if other countries are coming in, we will also establish our multinational coordinating centers.
Yes, there was mention of the international assistance. How do we? I'm sure maraming mag-offer, but we have to coordinate it also. What were you saying that we are in communication with other international agencies?
Actually, sir, the Secretary of National Defense has already made some kind of guidance to Office of Civil Defense in that regard.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
We have to establish first the protocols before the actual deployment of military assets, sir. With Singapore, I already talked to Ambassador Xi.
So you
And
said-
then we are reaching out to Brunei, Indonesia, and Malaysia as the closest neighbors. In addition to the partner nations.
Well, this is where we make full use of the ADCA sites, especially for the activities ng AFP, pag airlift. And, all right. Okay.
Mr. President.
Yes, Secretary.
Maybe I'd just like also to announce, we actually just got recently verified for 3 international medical teams, level 1. So this is a 30-man team, complete with wash, facilities for outpatient care. I plan to deploy it, one in Bicol, the other one in northern and central Luzon, para ready to deploy healthcare with the whole team. Ano yung first country po tayong na recognize ng WHO with 3 teams in one verification. 5 taon na po nating tinatrabaho to. And then the first team actually already was deployed in Turkey during the earthquake a few years ago. So it's a international verification. Gamitin ko na for our national deployment.
Oh, very good. Okay, that's what we need. All right. Okay, once again, what have we forgotten? Ano pa? Ano pang? Ayan, si Sec Jimmy. Yes, and because how many? They are all lahat ng ports have been
Yes, sir.
have closed for
Yes, sir.
for safety reasons.
There were 5,329 stranded passengers.
Yeah, I
Mr.
was looking at that. I was watching the news earlier today. Yung mga stranded na passengers, ang problema ng PPA, hindi nila mabigyan ng release
Yes,
dahil
sir.
wala naman sila pambigay.
Yes, sir.
In fact, the person that was being interviewed said, baka kung gawin namin yung makuha kami. So, should DSWD should
Operate, sir.
do this.
Sir, we do.
Kasi wala naman sa brief ng PPA na magbigay ng release.
Yes,
Sir, actually,
papalugaw na lang daw sila.
Yes, sir.
Sir, sa standard operating procedure, even in Bicol Port yesterday, in Macnog, we were there. We do hot meals. Sir, hindi yung family food pack kasi hindi nila makakain yun dahil wala namang cooking facility. We do warm meals on site.
Okay. Oh, good. Because marami yung stranded eh.
There were 5,329 stranded passengers, sir, in different ports, plus 994 vehicles that should take the Roro, so they cannot sail because of this typhoon. No?
All right.
Yeah.
But the ports are shut down because of the weather. So we have no forecast when they can operate again. Non-operational lahat doon sa area. Yeah.
Coast Guard will give the clearance if they can sail already. No?
Yes, Admiral.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. President. As soon as the area is cleared from the weather signal, we will lift the suspension of sea travel. But in the meantime, along the path, no sail po. Is being imposed.
Better safe than sorry.
But nonetheless, Mr. President, there are some ports in Bicol which can be accessed just in case po na there's a need for us to bring in supplies. The port of Pasacao can be accessed by smaller ships. And we are actually preparing 3 ships now to assist OCD or this WD in case they need our help.
Sir, if I may, I just got a call from Congressman El Rey. Out of 600 barangays in Naga, 300 are fully submerged, 1,000 fully submerged, unpassable by cars, and they are in urgent need of rubber boats and 6x6 trucks to evacuate people. And it's just beginning, so
Well, for them, in Kamsur, medyo
paalis na.
medyo
Yes, sir.
patapos na. Pero
So-
for the rest of Luzon,
yes,
it's not yet even quite begun yet.
that's right. So sila yung nauna. In his words, sir, they're in desperate need. Hindi daw kaya ng local government.
It's really the flooding that we're going to have to deal with. So, anong gagawin natin?
Sir, yung DND siguro ang
No,
mauna,
sir,
sir.
as we speak, we're pushing forward the additional rubber boats to proceed to the Solcom area and already give instructions, sir, that we have to source some from Mindanao and the Visayas. J3 is working on it to Marshall already, sir, and if possible, we can even airdrop them in.
50,000 po siya. 50,000. Okay. Actually, nag-withdraw na siya.
Okay.
Sir, for the same area, the food packs are being withdrawn already. I was also talking to Congressman El Rey yesterday. The first 50,000 he's already taking now.
So
Yes,
they're
and I told
able
him to keep on withdrawing as he needs.
Alright. Alright. So ganun na nga yung mga assets because waterborne assets ang kailangan natin yung maliliit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think for now we pretty much covered everything that we can do. We are except for the Bicol region, except for Region 5, we are still in the preparation stage. Region 5, mag-umpisa na talaga ng ano, kasi basta pwede nang pasukin, the public works is going to work to open all the thoroughfares. Those areas that are isolated, kagaya ng mga 300
barangays out of 600, sir.
Kalahati ng probinsya.
Yes, sir. Are fully submerged.
Sir, it's because Camarines or the Bicol River Basin.
Yeah, it's river basin talaga.
Yun po yung Albay and Camarines
exactly.
Norte, papunta sa
Correct.
Albay.
Correct.
Mr. President, nandito po yung
That's
General
why lagi naiipon dyan eh.
Mr. President, nandito po yung General Manager ng Philippine Ports Authority. Tingnan natin kung nagugutom yung mga stranded doon. Mr. J. Santiago.
Good morning po, Mr. President.
Yes, good morning.
Well, ano lang po, tama po yung sinabi po ni Sec Bautista po kanina. As of 6 a.m. po kanina, nasa 5,329 passengers po yung stranded natin and 994 vehicles. So what we have been doing po, every time naman po na meron po tayong ganitong situation, lahat po ng terminals natin sa stranded, we provide them hot meals po. No? Pero ano lang po, Mr. President, normally lugaw po na mainit kasi wala naman po sa budget po natin yan.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Opo. But what we do po is we do it po out of pocket po ng mga empleyado din po natin.
We should have a more, hindi pwedeng ganun lang mga ad hoc. Thank you very much. And I'm sure it is a big help to those who are no, but the government should have a more systematic way of looking after them.
Mr. President, if I may. Right now, we augment the hot meals, pero we're about to come up with our DOST ready-to-eat box. It's a day box na lahat na siya kakainin mo na lang. There are protein bars and all those stuff. Galing sa DOST. So we're about to launch it next month. So yun yung mas systematic way of doing it.
But that's something that yan ang talagang fell through the cracks na hindi natin napaghandaan. But so I'm glad it came out in the news. Ikaw ba yung in-interview?
Yes po, Mr. President.
Sabi ko na nga ba?
In fact po, if I may, ano po sana kami, request po kami sa kila Secretary Rex na once those food items are ready, baka po pwedeng mag-preposition po sa mga terminals po natin na malalaki para...
We'll just do the same thing
Thank you, sir.
With a specific, sa yung mga stranded na pasahero. Pag sinara yung mga puerto.
Yes, Mr. President, when we procure that, patapos na ho, it's coming. The ready-to-eat boxes will pre-position sa mga pier po.
All right. So, sino pa? What else? Yes, please, go ahead.
Sir, yung tungkol po doon sa power interruption, actually, napaka-importante po na yung tungkol dyan sa interruption to make it short as much as possible because most of the water supplies in the provinces are also relying on the power.
No, it's a perfectly reasonable demand to bring that power as quickly as possible.
As quickly as possible.
Ang daming hindi magawa hanggat may power.
And at the same time, sir, some of the cold chain in the hospitals are also reliant on power supply. So it's important that these are some of the humanitarian aspects that we have to look into.
No doubt. No doubt. It's just that there is that that is that long-term effect which we have to pay attention to as well.
Mr. President, and as you pointed out, we have to avoid the possible electrocution of people. That's why we have to check the lines first. NEA coordinates that with the electric co-ops before we can restore.
It's really, we all want to bring the power back as quickly as possible. Pero bawat metro ng linya, kailangan inspeksyonin na walang putol, walang nag-short, walang, kundi pag inon yan, puputok lang lahat yan. Magkasunog pa, may masaktan pa.
Mr. President, with respect to the power, I remember we will just have to marshal it again. In the onset of El Nino, we made sure all the hospitals had generating equipment and other water facilities. So we'll just make sure that those are up to speed.
Well, as long as we have been able to provide the equipment, kaya naman. Well, between the generator and the water purification machines. Yeah.
Mr. President, DOH, for those which it is running and supporting, they have provided for gensets for all of this. So that's at least for 4 to 8 hours, they are able to provide for emergency power. So we can draw on that.
Yun ang limit, Mr. President. Usually we cannot use the genset for long periods of time. They're only for like that temporary power interruption.
Yes.
Then kailangan bumalik yung power din. Pag continuous nasisira yung genset.
So, hindi kaya. It's
kaya.
not designed for that.
It's not designed for continuous power supply.
Oo. No, there's no doubt. We have to bring the power back as quickly as we can, safely. Yeah, so we'll do that. That's exactly what we will do. That's what we always do. Well, our procedures seem to be in place. There are little adjustments that we have to make for the specific situation, but right now we will just have to wait for the storm to pass and see what the effects will be. It's mukhang maliwanag na it's really the flooding that we are going to have to worry about. Not so much the infrastructure damage from winds. It's really going to be infrastructure damage and threat to life of the flooding that's going to happen. So the evacuation, tuloy-tuloy na natin yung Northern Luzon, kung saan yung talagang tatamaan, mag-evacuate naman. Sanay naman kami dyan. So, the point being, since the storms pass in our area all the time, people are not so hard to convince na mag-evacuate muna. So, basta't meron silang warning, gagawin naman ng mga local government executives. All right. I think we've covered as many things as we possibly can without seeing the final effects of the storm. So, okay, let's go. Let's prepare. Everybody knows what they need to do. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Sir.
Question, Christian-related questions.
Sa program kunin, pumayag ng Kongreso or sa contingent funds.
Check. Check. Mic check.
Siguro naman napanood ninyo, ganun din. What essentially what we are doing is going through our regular SOPs at maayos naman. Mukhang the department were ready. Ang nangyari lang talaga is that we looked at specific cases around the country kung ano yung kanilang specific na pangangailangan. Right now, it's really Region 5 that was hit first at saka mabigat. Unfortunately, Region 5 was almost on the periphery. Hanggang nasa gilid na nung coverage area ng storm. So pagpasok nitong center ng storm, pag-eye of the storm, papasok na sa Northern Luzon, baka maging masyadong mabigat, kaya kailangan paghandaan na mabuti. And we are doing everything we can to get assistance pre-position. That's always the key. People evaluated properly, get our goods and equipment pre-positioned as close as possible without them having the risk of damage para malapit na sila doon sa area kailangan nilang servisan pagka dumaan na yung bagyo. And that's essentially what we did. And again, we've included all of the different agencies. Of course, the NDRMC led by the DND, and they are prepared to provide, number one, from the AFP, airlift, kasi may mga kalsada hindi pa madaanan. And number two, they're continuing with the AFP is also continuing to monitor the situation so that we will be able to activate the EDCA sites which were put there specifically for this purpose. So the other departments seem to be well prepared. We have some budgeting issues simply because na meron tayong napakarami ang dumadaan na bagyo. Hindi bale, but that's not something that we should worry about because we will be able to remedy that.
Mr. President,
yes.
we expected a much stronger onslaught of the typhoon.
Yeah.
Will it be possible na ma-extend the suspension of classes and going further?
It all depends on the weather. Yes, very possible. Unfortunately, very possible. Oh, because we're losing so many days, days of work, days of classes. But what can you do? Nandyan ang bagyo. Hindi naman natin ilalagay ang mga tao sa peligro. Oh.
Sir, former Vice President Lederbred was asking for help, in particular yung mga rubber boats. How soon?
Yeah, as soon as we can get it.
Alright mga tropa, ating pong napanood ang situation briefing ng ating pong Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Bongbong Jr. dito po sa ating pong National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council na nakabase po dito sa Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City. At mga babayan, yan po ay patuloy po naming ipinapaabot sa ating mga taga-subaybay at taga-pakinig na patuloy po tayong maging aware at tayo po ay nagagalak sa briefing na ito dahil nakita po natin ang patuloy ng mga hakbang na sinusulong ng ating pamahalaan para mabigyang tugon ito pong mga pangangailangan at suportahan ito pong mga babayan po nating naapektuhan ng bagyong Christina. Kaya mga babayan, huwag po kayong alis at tayo po ay patuloy pa rin maghatid ng mga balita sapagkat ngayon pong araw pong ito ay ating pong bibigyang pansin din ang ulat ng ating pong katropa sa labas ng Maningpilan. Patungkol po ito sa Oktobreng dineklarang buwan ng pamanan ng mga Filipino-Amerikano ng Paramos, New Jersey. At ang buong detalye po niyan ay ating mapapinggan sa ulat ng ating katropang Jojo. Ano, katropang Jojo, magandang umaga.
Magandang araw mga katropa. Ang Borough ng Paramos, New Jersey sa Amerika kamakailan ay opisyal na nagdeklara ng Oktubre bilang buwan ng pamana ng mga Pilipino-Amerikano sa isang seremonya sa Borough Hall. Ito ang kauna-unahang pagkakataon ng kasaysayan ng mga Pilipino-Amerikano at mga kontribusyon ng komunidad ng mga Pilipino ay formal na kinilala sa Paramos. Naglabas ng proklamasyon si Mayor Christopher D. Piazza na binibigyan din ng makabuluhang kontribusyon ng mga Pilipino-Amerikano sa iba't ibang larangan kabilang ang kultura, negosyo, pangangalagang pangkalusugan at pampublikong serbisyo. Pinarangalan din ito ang kanilang mayamang kasaysayan at pamana habang hinihikayat ang lahat ng residente ng Paramos na paunlarin ang pagkakaisa at pag-unawa sa kultura. Ang mga miyembro ng konseho na sina Alfredo Nadera at Ace Antonio na parehong may lahing Pilipino ang nagtaguyod ng pagkilalang ito. Binanggit ni Consul Nadera na higit kumulang sa 2,000 Filipino-American ang nakatira sa Paramos na bumubuo na isang malaking bahagi ng 26,000 residente ng bayan. Sa kanyang talumpati, pinasalamatan ni Consul General Senenti Mangalile ng New York si Mayor De Piazza at ang Farmers Council sa proklamasyon na inilarawan niya bilang isang salamin na matibay na ugnayan sa pagitan ng komunidad at ng mga Pilipino-Amerikano ng bayan. Ang katatagan at pagtitiyaga ng mga Pilipino-Amerikano mula pa noong kanilang unang pagdating sa Amerika noong 1587, pati na rin ang patuloy na kontribusyon ng komunidad sa Farmers at iba pang lugar. Ang proklamasyon na hindi lamang kinilala mga kontribusyon ng mga Pilipino-Amerikano sa Farmers, kundi nagbubukas din ito ng daan para sa pakikilahok ng komunidad at pagpapalaga sa kultural na pagkakaiba-iba sa buong bayan. At yan muna ang balita sa Amerika. Kasi Katropang Cesar Jojo Magsumbulagulat para sa DWDD Armed Forces Radio, ang boses ng Kawal, Pilipino.
Maraming salamat Katropang Jojo. At isa naman po sa pang mga ulat ng ating pong mapapakinggan sa ating Katropang Jan Handugan. Patungkol naman po ito sa mga kaganapan na kung saan ay 340,000 suspected na illegal drugs kumpiskado dyan sa Cavite PNP. 3 arestado. At Katropang Jojo iulat.
Maraming salamat Katropa. 3 drug suspect na kinabibilangan ng high-value individual at 2 street-level individual ang naaresto sa isang drug bypass operation ay kinasa naman sa magkatuang na pwersa ng Provincial Drug Enforcement Unit, Cavite Provincial Police Office, PIDEA Cavite at Dasmariñas CCPS sa Barangay Borol Main, Dasmariñas City sa lalawigan ng Cavite. Kabilang sa mga ipinagarap sa kasong paglabag sa Republic Act 9165 o Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002. Matapos namang makumpiskahan ng 50 gramo na suspected shabu na nagkakahalaga ng 340,000 piso at 15 gramo na suspected marijuana na sina alias Joara, 33 taong gulang alias Joshua, 27 taong gulang at alias James, 40 taong gulang residente kung saan din inilusad ang anti-illegal drug campaign ng kapulisyan. Ang 3 ay kasalukuyang pinipigil sa custodial facility ng Dasmariñas CCPS para naman sa wastong disposisyon ng kanilang kaso. Ako naman si Katropang Jen Handugan para sa DWDD Armed Forces Radio, boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Maraming salamat Katropang Jen Handugan. Mababayan po ang ilan sa mga balita na ating po nagalap at mga ulat na ating po napakinggan sa ating pong mga babayan at lalo na po sa ating pong komunidad. At mga tropa, patuloy pa rin po kaming nagpapaalala sa ating pong mga taga-subaybay at tagapakinig, lalong-lalo na po sa patuloy pong panahon na ating pong nararanasan. At para po sa kalaman ng ating mga taga-subaybay ay gayon na rin ang paghahanda na sinasagawa ng ating pamahalaan, the NDRRMC at ang ating pong Armed Forces of the Philippines para magbigay tugon sa ating pong mga kababayan na maapektuhan ito pong bagyong si Christina. Kaya mga kababayan, sa mga tropa po natin, huwag po kayo magkatubiling humingi ng tulong at agarang pagbigay ng impormasyon para po sa pagsuporta sa ating pong mga bayan na talaga namang maapektuhan ito pong bagyong Christina. Mababayan, sa ating patuloy na balitaan ay gusto ko lang pong munang batiin sa ating pong mga tropa na nakantabay at natutok ngayon, ang ating pong mga taga-subaybay na nakaantabay sa ating Facebook Live streaming. At bago tayo magrarahan-rahan ay gusto ko lang pong batiin ang ating pong dating former First Sergeant. At we are ang ating pong former First Sergeant na kung saan ay miss na namin and hoping makabalik dito si Sir. Kay Katropang Ray Pabilona, Sir, good morning. At sa mga tropa ikang araw dito na nakantabay sa DWDD at binabati niya ang ating mga tropa dito po sa DWDD. Sir, ingat po lagi kay Sir Ray Pabilona and hoping makabalik po kayo dito, Sir. Maraming salamat at ingat po. And sa ating pong mga tropa kay Ma'am Nail Liv Palos Cristobal Santiago, malakas po ang hangin, ulan, Rizal Province, Region 4. At sabi niya, watching po sir from Pasig City. Maraming salamat. Kay Ma'am Sel Alanes, kay Wilson Baloza Bazalizo, maraming salamat po. Sabi ni Ma'am Sel ay watching po siya sa Heart Center na while ongoing po ang therapy. Maraming salamat. Ayan po mababayan, patuloy po nating pinapaabot at patuloy po kayong umantabay sa ating pong himpilan ng radyo despite nagkaroon po tayo ng declaration na walang pasok po dito sa Northern, dito po sa Luzon. At hindi po ibig sabihin na kayo po hindi po ibig sabihin na tayo po maghihinto sa paghatid ng mga impormasyon at mga balita. Kaya mababayan, tutok lang po kayo at umantabay sa ating himpilan ng radyo Mondays to Friday, alas 10 hanggang alas 11 po ng umaga ang ating programang Kumusta Pilipinas. At kami po ay patuloy na maghatid ng mga impormasyon at mga kaganapan na dapat malaman ng taong bayan lalo na po sa ngayong panahon na ating pong nararanasan. Kaya mababayan, sa ating pong mababayan, gusto batiin na rin po natin ang ating pong mga katropa na kung saan si Sir Anthony Corpus na nakantabay. Sir, magandang morning and God bless na nakantabay ngayon. Kay Sir Wilson Mataluza, maraming salamat Sir Wilson. At mababayan, ako po ay magrarahan-rahan na. Maraming salamat at paalala po natin sa ating mga taga-subaybay at mga tagapakinig, lalong na po sa mga lugar na kung saan ay nakakaranas ng malakas na hagupit nito pong si Bagyong Christina, ay patuloy po namin kayong pinapaalalahanan na sumunod sa alintuntunin na ipinapaabot ng ating mga lokal na pamahalaan ng ating NDRRMC o the Municipal Risk Reduction Management Council upang kayo po ay matulungan, maalalayan at mailayo po kayo sa kapamakan na dulot po nitong malakas na hagupit ni Bagyong Christina. Para po tayo po ay maayos ang ating kalagayan, mailayo po tayo sa kapamakan na dulot po nitong bagyong dumarating at dumating na nga. Mababayan, maraming salamat sa inyo pong pag-aantabay at pagsusubaybay at pakikinig. Katropang partner, meron pa ba tayong ulat? At tayo po ay nagpapasalamat sa inyo pong walang sawang pagtutok at pag-aantabay. Antabayanan nyo pa rin po sa mga hindi po nakantabay ng situation briefing ng ating pong Pangulo with the NDRRMC na kung saan ginanap dito po sa Camp General Emilio Aguinaldo, Quezon City, ay pwede nyo pa rin po itong panoorin. Bisitahin po sa ating Facebook live streaming sa AFP Radio DWDD Facebook page upang kayo po ay maging aware sa mga panukal at mga hakbang na gagawin po ng ating Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas, ng ating pamahalaan at ng mga local government units para po sa pagtugon sa pangangailangan ng ating mababayan na naapektuhan ito pong Bagyong Christina. Mababayan, maraming salamat po sa inyo pong pagtutok sa ngalan po ng ating kasama, ng ating partner Major Mark Anthony Carinosa, Philippine Army, at ang inyo pong lingkod, Katropang Glen Gultian. Kami po ay nag-iwan ng mensaheng mag-iingat po tayo at sumunod sa alintuntunin para po sa ating kaayusan at kabutihan na maiwas po tayo sa kapamakan nito pong si Bagyong Christina. At ako po yung lingkod, Katropang Glen Gultian. Ito po ang programang Kumusta Pilipinas.
Ating pakinggan ang mga impormasyon at balita sa kasalukuyang kaganapan sa ating bansa. Dito sa programang Kumusta Pilipinas. Hosted by Major Mark Anthony Carinosa, Philippine Army, and Airman First Class Glen Gultian. Alas 10 hanggang alas 11 ng umaga, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, dito sa DWDD Armed Forces Radio, ang boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Kayo ay nakatutok sa DWDD AFP Radio. Kami po ay kasapi ng KBP, Kapisanan ng mga Broadcast